Hello, you're listening to Count Richard von Coudenhove Kalergi. Today is Sunday, April the 5th, and here's a couple of comments since my last video. Well, we are into week 2 of Leo's lockdown, and it is my opinion that this will not end next Sunday, and I believe that it could run well into June. With airplanes still landing in Dublin Airport, 33 today, and no testing of people, why are people being told to stay at home and only allowed out for limited periods and driving for work, food, and only close to home? Does this shutdown, which will cripple the economy for generations, actually cause more fatalities than it's supposed to cure? What is the suicide rate at the moment and the costs of domestic violence? And according to the CSO, over 500,000 people are either out of work or receiving pandemic payments. It must be very hard to shoplift if you're keeping the social distancing. I was in my local park, and it appears that even the dogs are keeping the social distance and are doing not what they usually do. I also noticed there were gender neutral figures stenciled on the ground with a 2 metre distance between the two. And walking by a pole with CCTV cameras, a voice announced about keeping social distancing. A mini gymnasium, which included parallel bars and chinning bars, 2 exercises I used to do, being able to do over 50 dips and 22 chin-ups in a minute. Back then, when I had a body, I would happily have donated to science. Now I have one I would happily donate to science fiction. Sadly, now with stickers all over it forbidding its use. So even a walk in the park has become a reminder that I am in a pandemic. The relentless selling of this non-stop, every radio program contains public announcement. I say this not to make light of the seriousness of the situation, but with the average age of those who died close to 81 years old, and in most cases a contributing factor, not the sole factor, there has to be applied a level of proportionality so that the resources needed to provide a cure, not a vaccine, can be applied medically where it is most needed. So far, the best percentage that I can find for those that died from the virus directly is only at 12%. The rest is sadly a contributing factor. Only time will tell if these figures, when you compare them with those who die of flu and are separated into flu and virus-related deaths, do justice to the people of this country. I also wonder what percentage of the TV networks are actually owned by pharmaceutical companies and their relentless push towards vaccinations rather than cure. Orange man bad, everybody else good. Eventually, I had to listen to RTE yesterday after 1 p.m. running on full fear porn. The host suggested that lockdown continue until a vaccine is made available, and that it could mean that schools may not open in September. Can you imagine months of this nonsense? I particularly don't understand the reasoning behind not allowing people to drive, as how can you infect someone when you're driving? Surely your habits after you get out of the car are more important, not how far away that you travel from home. And are you under, and what act of the Road Traffic Act are you in breach of if you break this, and are you committing a motoring offence? And if you drive outside your area, and are they in a position to impose fines if this legislation is not there? I reminded years ago of a family holiday back in France in 1980. I found very interesting to see in this barn, I found German writing, which was graffiti that dated back to the Second World War. And to think that now that the guards are looking for documentation from people of proof of where they're going to work is extraordinary. Friday also saw a priest in Ballyhaunis allow the Muslim call to prayer broadcast from a church after an online broadcast of Mass. What on earth was this man thinking of? Does he not realise that this call is a proclamation that the ground beneath their feet is the property of Muhammad? He is guilty of bearing false witness and has insulted the memory of every Christian murdered by Muslims. Do you think that he will be invited into a mosque to say the Our Father or the Beatitudes? I would like to end with a quote from J Edgar Hoover. The individual comes face to face with a conspiracy so monstrous he cannot believe it exists. The American mind has not come to realization of the evil which has been introduced into our midst. It rejects even the assumption that human creatures could espouse a philosophy which must ultimately destroy all that is good and decent. So now do we not only have a country to defend, we have a church which has spiritually abandoned its flock, and with a pope who is a sheep masquerading as a shepherd, we must defend both for Christ and country. Thanks for listening. Good night, good luck, and God bless.